Hello everyone, welcome to this session. We're still discussing about the food processing, preservation, and the storage. So far in our previous video, we are discussing about the modern methods. We've covered all the methods, traditional methods of food preservation and the storage, and also the modern methods of food preservation and the storage. So today, let's finish up briefly discussing about the difference uh, between these two difference between the traditional and the modern methods of the food processing and preservation. Now, here is simply a summarized table that shows the difference between these two. Here, there's traditional methods and there's modern methods. In terms of the traditional methods, they are less costful. This means that they are cheap. But when we're talking about the modern methods, they are highly expensive or they're just high costful. Uh, this means that in traditional methods, they just don't require much of the expenses just to preserve the food or process the food. But when you're talking about the modern methods, they just they use much expenses. Simply they use high technology just to preserve the food and to process the food. So that's the first difference between these two. The second one is that it involves the use of raw technology in the traditional methods, while in the modern methods, it involves the use of advanced technology. So as from the method itself, traditional it means that like uh, more like less technological. So than compared to the modern, whereby from the word modern it means there's much the technology within it. So in the traditional methods, they just use of very low technology or simple technology that was even done uh, those ancient times. But in the modern methods, here it involves the use of very advanced technology and it can be carried out within large places. Take an example in the industries. So there you have it. That's the second difference between these two. The third one is that it processes and preserves food for a limited amount of time when we're talking about the traditional methods. But the modern methods just preserves food for months and even years. So that's the other difference between these two, whereby in the traditional methods, the food preserved or processed can just stay for a very limited amount of time. But when we are in the modern methods, the food is preserved for very, very long time, can even take for months and even years just to preserve the food. And that's why in these uh, foods that are preserved in these modern methods, they have like some kind of expire date since the manufacturing date. So there you have it. That's the third difference. The other difference, the other difference is that in the traditional methods, it just uses the local materials to process and preserve food. It is used by most people. While the modern methods, it uses the chemicals to process and preserve the food. Therefore, it is used by few people. So that's the other difference between these two. The traditional methods are just there to be used by most people around, and it's very knowledgeable and easy to use or to carry out since it uses these local materials. Take an example, traditional method like drying on the sun. It's just simply you just take your food and put it on the sun. But compared to the modern methods, take an example of the pasteurization, whereby it requires some kind of chemicals or that irradiation. It also requires some kind of chemicals to process and preserve the food. Therefore, it is carried out by few people and mostly likely in industries than traditional methods that can even be carried out domestically. This means like at home. The last not least, the difference between these two that in traditional method it takes types of food to be processed and preserves and be preserved, while in the modern methods it is just not selective. So this is the last difference between these two, whereby in traditional methods here the food preserved and processed can be selected or it can be very selective, compared to the modern methods, whereby it cannot be that selective since there's high technology used, so plenty of food can be stored and can be preserved or processed compared to the traditional methods, whereby some kinds of foods they cannot be preserved or processed in such a ways. So that's all I have for this video. I hope it's clear. We've briefly discussed the difference between the traditional methods and the modern methods within a summarized table. And this is our last subtopic for this chapter. I hope that's all clear. The food preservation, storage, and processing. Thank you.